Most laughter comes from the person speaking. We often assume that laughter occurs when we hear something funny, but research has shown that it is the people doing the speaking who laugh the most, 46% more than their audience. Our memories change each time they are recalled. What you think of as a memory of that day at the beach is merely a reconstructed mini-movie that changes, sometimes a lot, but generally quite subtly, every time it is recalled. We overestimate the emotional impact of future events. We are pretty bad at guessing how good or bad a potential future event will make us feel. This is known as impact bias, and it is why we all dream of winning the lottery and fear the loss of a job so much. Some people are inherently lazy, but they are typically happier. There is a school of thought that suggests that people who settle for an adequate rather than optimal outcome, known as satisficers, end up more content with their choices than those who seek to maximize every possible aspect of their lives, known as maximizers. We are virtually addicted to seeking information. The neurotransmitter dopamine makes us feel good, and it just so happens to be driving us to seek ever greater amounts of information, even if there's no practical purpose to it. The unconscious mind figures things out long before the conscious. When we are faced with decisions of any kind, our unconscious minds figure it all out way before we begin to consciously make our choice. Food, sex, and danger come first in our brains. Thanks to millions of years of evolutionary conditioning, our brains seem to be hardwired to assess things as a meal, a mate, or a threat. That's why we find images of food, sexual suggestion, and danger so compelling and so hard to ignore. We often see what we expect to see. There is no way that our conscious minds can ever absorb every bit of information around us, and this leads to inattentional blindness, where we overlook seemingly obvious things because we are either distracted by something else, or we simply don't expect to see the anomaly. We can only remember 3 or 4 new things at a time. Our short-term memories can only really store 3 or 4 things at a time, and we need to keep refreshing facts until they can form more long-term pathways in our brains. Children are better at delaying gratification in a reliable environment. When researchers revisited the famous marshmallow experiment and added a twist to it, they found that kids who were exposed to a reliable environment were better at delaying gratification than those exposed to an unreliable environment. Synchronized activities foster cooperation in groups. When groups of people take part in a single activity, they are more likely to cooperate in subsequent tasks, even if self-sacrifice is required for the good of the whole. We struggle with more than 150 social connections. It is suggested that humans find it difficult to have any meaningful connection with more than 150 people at a time, a figure known as Dunbar's number. People most easily process information presented in story form. We are better at understanding concepts and remembering facts when we are taught through storytelling rather than abstract concepts, facts, and figures. Even the thought of progress motivates us. Often, all it takes to motivate us is the illusion that we are making progress towards our goals. Our minds spend 30% of the time wandering. Typically speaking, our minds are not focused on the task at hand a staggering 30% of the time. Instead, they are found wandering in memories and daydreams.